What's going on, people? So the Xbox Game Showcase was last week, and while the overall event was pretty mixed across the board, I've seen a good amount of people say they liked the event and an equal amount saying they absolutely despised it. Me, myself, and I am kind of in the middle, leaning more towards overall disappointment. I mean, don't get it twisted. Giving credit where credit is due. I am a really big fan of what Microsoft is trying to do. They are really bolstering their game studios' diversity in terms of different type of genres that exist. All that stuff is fantastic. Now, that being said, when you've had to hear for 6 months straight that the Xbox Series X is the world's most powerful console that has ever existed ever, with 12 teraflippity flops of performance on July 23rd, see why X is gonna give it to you. And you don't get that on screen, we might have to retire that power your dreams slogan, because if that's what the velocity architecture is truly capable of, we just got to keep on dreaming, ladies and gentlemen. But if there is some shred of solace, something that we can all come together on as gamers for the first time ever, it's that Xbox Game Pass was the true star of the showcase. And that's what we're going to talk about today. We are going to be having a practical conversation all about Game Pass. And what really prompted me to do this discussion was a recent interview held by the fine ladies over at What's Good Games with Aaron Greenberg. And he was talking about the Xbox Game Pass service as a whole and its viability to the industry. Because this is something that has prompted a lot of people to really scratch their heads at, because Microsoft is doing something very, very different. They're disrupting the industry when it comes down to delivering content to you, the consumer. In fact, I guess you would say that they've been doing that for the longest time. Introducing paid online on consoles and then all the other things that happen from there. Microsoft is really at the first forefront at a lot of those things, for better or for worse. But with Xbox Game Pass, delivering all this value to the consumer at a low monthly rate and all the things they keep adding into it, I mean, if I'm being honest, people are right to question whether or not this is sustainable. So in the interview in question right here, it's transcribed by the fine people over at WCCF Tech. I'll have it linked down below in the video description. I'm not going to read everything here, but I do want to hone in on a couple of key points. So in regards to Xbox Game Pass as a service being viable to Microsoft, what Aaron Greenberg had to say: "We always laugh when we hear that. Please don't worry about us. Microsoft is going to be all right. We're going to make it. I think we're going to be okay." So if you wonder whether or not Microsoft is going to be giving up on Game Pass as of now, you can click off the video because you got your answer. To Microsoft, Game Pass as a service is fine, and it's got the backing of all the top-level executives. And this article continues to highlight what Microsoft wants to get from Game Pass in terms of building the ecosystem. And what they're focusing on is really delivering in value, so much to the point where they're over delivering on it. And that's evident when you look at the fact that all of their Xbox game studios, all their games are going to be launching day and date with the service. They have a lot of third-party acquisitions, games like Devil May Cry, Red Dead Redemption, Grand Theft Auto 5, all the Kingdom Hearts games, all the Yakuza games, those games launching on the service. And those games are really not that old in the grand scheme of things. xCloud coming into the mix on September, free of charge. That's a lot of value there. But in Microsoft eyes, they really want to make this service the best it can possibly be. And instead of marketing it in the traditional sense that, yeah, we're going to spend a lot of money on advertising, we're going to do this, that, and the third to show people, we want the gamers to tell their friends about it. And as I'm sure you guys have seen in all the videos I've been making about Xbox for the past 2 months, what do I always say? Xbox Game Pass is the best value in gaming, because it is for a low monthly rate, whether you're paying, $14.99 a month, you've paid for a year up front, or you've gone ahead and just got like the $1 deal. And, there are many clever ways for you to get basically Xbox Live Gold and the Game Pass for free. It's a really good value proposition. He did highlight, though, a very, very key factor. In the short term, yeah, Xbox Game Pass is not a big profit play, but we think long term it works out good for everybody. Now, I'm not one to really, I guess you could say, play armchair analyst at these things, mainly due to the fact that I don't have a stake in any of this at all. Listen, I know we all like to talk about the business side of things when it comes to these companies and whether or not this is really beneficial to them or not, but I don't sit in the boardroom at Xbox. I don't know what they deem as truly profitable, because remember, Microsoft is what, $1 trillion company? So what they deem as big profits versus somebody else in the industry, maybe someone like Sony or Nintendo, it could be completely different. So for them saying that it's not a big profit play, maybe it's a lot of money to somebody else, but to them it's kind of like, you know? So I don't care whether or not this service is going to be viable for Microsoft. I don't care if it's going to be viable for a developer. That is a conversation had with those respective parties, with those entities. The only angle I can speak from is as a consumer, because that's the furthest in I am going to get. So from what I've seen right now, Xbox Game Pass, the value that I'm getting, the value proposition is incredible. Absolutely incredible. I think everybody can speak on that. Even if you're not a fan of the Xbox Game Studio titles, right? Just the amount of other games that are on the service, whether they're old or not, you get introduced to so many games that you probably wouldn't have played at some point. And I'm sure you guys can list a ton of games that are on there. Do you know the amount of people who I have now converted to the Yakuza Nation because Zero and Kiwami, and then Kiwami 2 coming out tomorrow. If you are downloading Kiwami 2 on Xbox, comment down below. The amount of people I've converted who would have never played Yakuza because they're like, yeah, I want to play on Xbox. Oh, that's on Game Pass? I'm going to go ahead and download that. Game Pass does these things. Whether or not it's beneficial to Microsoft long term, if this gamble is going to pay off to them long term, I don't know. But the thing about Microsoft is that they've put in so many different contingency plans into place. And what do I mean by that? I am talking about the advent of choice, consumer choice, right? Xbox Game Pass is simply an option for you, the consumer. Would Microsoft want you to subscribe to it long term? Yes, they would, because that's a recurring revenue. But you can still go out there and you can buy the games. Store shelves, digital storefronts. You can get those games with cross-platform compatibility. Play it on your PC, play it on your Xbox. In addition to that, if you're playing it on PC, these games still exist on other platforms, not just the Windows Store. You can get these games on Steam. And something that's really interesting is that even though Xbox Game Pass as a service is on PC for $5 a month, those games being on Steam are still charting. Whether you care for Xbox's service games like Sea of Thieves and Grounded, those games are consistently top sellers on Steam. Gears of War, top seller on Steam. Halo, top seller on Steam. Whether it's an established IP, a game that people really wanted to play, it's still making money on that platform. It's giving people options. So you can subscribe to Game Pass to play all these games. You can get a discount on the games on Game Pass to keep those games. You can stream those games if you're playing it on Game Pass. You can play those games on PC if you're playing it on Game Pass, or you can just buy the games and play it on Xbox or PC. That's all on you. So I don't see how this is killing industry. I don't see how this is going against things. If I wanted to play devil's advocate long term, I can see what the potential problems could be. Because with Microsoft focusing more on these evolving titles, they talk about Halo Infinite being a game that is more a platform rather than a standalone release, and they release Halo, whatever the subtitle is going to be for the next one. They're going to focus on this game for an extended period of time, adding in new content and updates and supporting the community, which is what they've been doing for other games on their service too. I hope that it doesn't end, like every game they release does not end up like Sea of Thieves or State of Decay. While those games have gotten better, and Sea of Thieves is in such a better place now than it was when it launched, it's still released in a very, very bare bones state. And that shouldn't be the case to justify the game's existence on a service. It shouldn't be like that. So if there's anything I will say, being an armchair consumer analyst, it's that Microsoft needs to release those games feature complete upon release, you know? Or if you are going to release these games, do not charge full price for them. They've got to come out at like $19.99, $29.99 at max, like they're doing with Grounded. Grounded is a game that's still in game preview, so it doesn't have all of the content there. But it's not a full price release, and it gets better as time goes on. That's how it is for a lot of these big games as a service titles. They're either free or they're released at a budget price and they get better as time goes on. Whether or not you care about those kind of games is just regardless of the fact. But provided those stay as they are and they just keep getting better, I'm okay with it. If we start seeing some crazy stuff like the next Gears of War is only going to have 2 chapters of a campaign and then they're going to release other chapters on a month-to-month basis, yeah, that's going to be a problem. That is, especially if you want to try to buy that game in retail. That might be an issue. But here's something else that's crazy. There is no anecdotal evidence to confirm whether or not that is going to be the norm. There really isn't. So all I can say for right now is just you got to enjoy the service as it is for what you're getting out of it. and just see where it takes you long term. Because how it is right now, it's just a lot of good value. It is. And I'm not trying to be a shill for Xbox. I'm not sponsored by Xbox, despite what people say. I'm just a guy who bought the Xbox, and I was like, yo, this service is dope. There's so much value in here. And I just want to speak the good praises about it. That's all it is. And if Xbox eventually does go under a la Movie Pass, then it is what it is. I'm just going to enjoy the ride for what it was, because Movie Pass, that's another service I'll speak on briefly. I got into Movie Pass very early on. I was one of the early adopters. You know, back in the day when I was paying like $30, $45 a month to go see movies in the theater, it might seem a lot for a monthly service. But when you consider the ticket prices here in New York, it's damn near close to $20 for my area. Seeing 3 movies a month, I was able to break even. And I was able to see more movies. Movie Pass became an unsustainable format because they dropped the price to an insanely low number, and it just didn't hit the metrics because they were fighting with the movie theaters for relevance. Microsoft is different because they are an entity in the gaming sphere. They own this console, so they can control what their studios release in addition to the partnerships that they have with other studios. It's not like they're strong arming people into doing stuff. It really isn't. And even though MoviePass does not exist anymore, look what it did for the industry. Both Regal and AMC have launched their own services with monthly subscription prices. It sucks that they got those off the ground, and then we entered the pandemic, like especially Regal. I feel so bad for Regal because they literally just launched that not even a year before this happened. But yeah, for better or for worse, MoviePass did change the industry to an extent with those monthly services. But all this stuff is still in its relative infancy when it comes to tech. And the thing about tech is that you got to spend money to make money. And Netflix, just looking at the amount of debt that Netflix has accrued, everybody says, oh yeah, Netflix is going to go downhill. You know, they're just so much in debt because they're spending all this money on this stuff. But you want to know what? We still subscribe to Netflix. We still watch the shows when we want to see them. And at some point, this becomes profitable to them in some weird way, the way they want to talk about what is good debt versus bad debt. You start getting into a real discussion when it comes to the business side of things. But yeah, man, Xbox Game Pass players, y'all just keep on having fun. Play your games. Don't worry about this. If we start seeing the warning signs of things, we'll have another discussion then. But as it stands right now, Sony releasing their games for full price, $60. If there's value in the games, I'll buy it. Xbox Game Pass, if there's value in the games and I really like it, if I enjoy the game on Game Pass and I want to own it, I'm going to do the exact same thing but get a discount on it. That's all I got for y'all today. Post your comments down below on what do you think about Game Pass as a whole. Would you be okay with the service if it actually did raise its price to, let's say, $25 a month, but you still get the same benefits and perks and all that good stuff? Let me know it down below. For me for now, my name is NGS signing out, and like always, I will catch you guys later. Peace.